Hello, everyone. Good to see all of you again after a long gap. We are back with yet another episode on anthropology. And specifically speaking, we will discuss biological anthropology in some detail. But keep in mind, our anthropology optional is not just about biology per se, but it is about biological anthropology, where we emphasize more on the applications of these biological aspects to humans, to humanity, right? That's what anthropology is. It's a discipline of infinite curiosity about humans. So that's an important sort of a distinction to keep in mind. So a biology answer isn't necessarily a biological anthropology answer. And one more thing, most of the students probably think that biology portion is going to be taxing, it's going to be slightly challenging, but trust me, that is not the case at all. Biology is in fact quite easy, and in fact a lot of fun as well. And you yourself will realize this thing after watching these videos on the playlist. So in this playlist, we will start from the very basics and try to sort of help you build some interest and more importantly, help you build a strong foundation when it comes to biological anthropology. So without any further delay, let's get started. Sex and fertilization. Okay, for that you have to understand the female body, you have to understand the male body. Okay, and in terms of growth and development, we have to understand what are the sort of changes that are taking place. Okay, so adolescence stage. Okay, what happens, right? That we should be able to talk about. So menarche is the first menstrual cycle, right? So generally women, okay, or girls, between the age of, let's say, 8 to 13, 14, somewhere there, menarche is going to set in, right? And once menarche sets in, eventually you will notice that the person we are talking about, that organism, okay, in that individual in that particular species, in that population, is going to be a fertile one. Okay, meaning she is going to be able to reproduce. Now that period is going to last, anywhere between around, let's say, 30, 35 years. Okay, and each woman, of course, is different. We are going to talk about the generic sort of a reference woman, right? So that is what. Now, so that means there is something called your menstrual cycle, right? And this is something that all of us have studied in school. What was it? Was it in class 8? Was it in class 9? When did you guys learn about the menstrual cycle? In which class did you guys, see this for the first time?
8th standard.
8th. Okay, good, good. Okay, so as long as you remember. So this is a very sort of simple sort of a diagram, right? So you have the vagina here. This is your cervix. Okay, you have the uterus portion, and very, very important area here is your ovary. Okay, and you have two of these, and then you have these fallopian tubes. Okay, fallopian tube. So we have to understand how does all of these things come together and play a role in either two things. Okay, either in pregnancy, okay, or in um, periods. Okay, either of two things can happen every single month. So this is what we want to talk about. Okay, so this is a cycle that is quite universal, but we have to understand how exactly is this a cycle. For instance, a cycle, what do I mean by a cycle? I'm saying that it is a 28-day rotation, right? And the whole system occurs on repeat, happening for around 30, 35 years. And eventually towards the end, okay, menopause it may not be as sort of consistent. It may not be 28-day rotation, but again, we're not going to talk about the exceptions. We're talking about the reference woman. Okay, so what makes this cycle sort of go on? An important element here that ensures that this sort of a cycle that takes place, okay, deals with the hormonal controls. Okay, so behind the scenes, you have a whole lot of hormonal controls to the physiological thing that we generally see, which is that 28 days cycle where you have, after which you will start seeing, periods. Okay, periods and then 28 days and again periods and then again 28 days, either pregnancy or periods and again 28 days, then either periods or pregnancy, right? So that is what is working. So what exactly is happening behind the scenes is what we have to understand. So we have to understand that series of sort of hormonal controls that are going to fine tune the body's, the internal machinery to ensure that menstruation starts or stops or does whatever it is supposed to do within those 28 days. Right, so this particular inner machinery, right, this starts with, or this involves these two ovaries. Okay, and inside these two ovaries, we have something called follicles. Okay, and these follicles, let us say यहाँ पे follicles, if I may draw so, Okay, inside these follicles, if I just draw this follicle, inside this there is something called an oocyte, OOCYTE. Okay, which is nothing but an unfertilized cell or egg cell, right? If you guys remember from the very first, the beginning of the genetics, and when did we do the beginnings of genetics? We talked about the beginnings of genetics when we finished Darwin and before we could graduate and move on to post Darwin or the synthetic theories, right? We talked about that. So in that, we talked about the fact that you have these haploids and we have diploids. Haploids are these 23 and 23, right? Not pairs, but 23 chromosomes from the male, which comes in the form of sperm. And then you have 23 chromosomes that come from the female in the form of egg, right? So really quick, guys, what is the difference between a gamete and a zygote? Gamete and okay, that's wonderful. You guys are excellent students of biology. But can you tell me in terms of a simple, student? Ah, there you go. Okay, before and after fertilization. Okay, so Sudha says gametes are N, zygotes are 2N, haploid, diploid, zygote, diploid. Okay, great, great, great. Okay, before and after fertilization. Okay, so that's your gamete and zygote. So my oocyte, this is, what is this? Is this a gamete? Is this a zygote? Perfect, so long as you are clear with this. Okay. Okay, so what are we going to talk more about? We're going to talk about this internal machinery. Okay, so it has to either result in periods here or there should be a baby here. Okay, at the end of your 28 days, if you can understand which scenario is going to result in which, we have done a very good, you have a very good understanding of this particular topic. Okay, so generally at puberty, they say 300,000 eggs, 400,000 eggs, but the release is one egg. Okay, only each month. So the one that is most developed. Okay, now this can result, okay, if this particular egg at the end of 28 days, right, if it has found itself a partner, another gamete, okay, thanks to sex, right, and the presence of the sperm, the other gamete within her internal machinery, we can say it has resulted in a pregnancy. Otherwise, it is going to result in a period. So each month, beginning around puberty, your menarche phase, the hormone producing pituitary gland in the brain, it starts releasing two substances. Okay, so how does it start? You have hormones. Let's start looking at this. Okay, you have your pituitary gland. Okay, so the anterior pituitary gland, it starts releasing. So essentially, you have your hypothalamus, which is in your brain, hypothalamus. Okay, and then it releases gonado GnRH. Okay, and then there are these blood vessels. Okay, anterior sort of anterior pituitary gland, and from here you have again outside this one, you're going to release two different items. Okay, two different sort of substances. One is going to be your LH, which is your luteinizing hormone, and then you have FSH, which is your follicle stimulating hormone. Okay, so again, I'll just mention you have your hypothalamus, you have GnRH, okay, which sort of from your pituitary gland, it is going to induce the release of your LH and FSH. Okay, so now what we have to see is how exactly is your follicle stimulating hormone and how exactly is your luteinizing hormone going to either result in one of two things, pregnancy and periods. Now, once these two substances are released through the blood vessels into the blood, right? right? And then they are going to reach your ovaries. When they do reach your ovaries, they encourage the internal cells here. Let me just draw this, okay, to sort of grow and mature, right? And these cells are, within these follicles. So follicles are being stimulated through that hormone. So very clear, right? Follicle stimulating hormone. So it is trying to develop these. So these follicles are going to respond by pumping out estrogen. And estrogen is something that you must have all heard of, right? It's an important sort of estrogen. It's either OE or it is E. Okay, so these egg cells will grow, and as this thing grows, your estrogen levels will start peaking, and then it will stop. Okay, the need for FSH, and then it will tell pituitary to pump out more LH. Again, I will repeat this, right? So hypothalamus, GnRH, okay, anterior pituitary gland, say we have two different substances being released into the blood. That is your LH, and then there is your FSH. You have your LH, and then you have your FSH. Correct? Now, once that is there in your bloodstream, okay, and they reach the ovaries, they encourage the internal egg cells here to grow and mature. So the follicles have been stimulated, and it is sort of growing and maturing. Which one? The egg cells. Now, these follicles, okay, are also going to sort of respond by pumping out estrogen. And as they grow, and as they have grown, estrogen levels will peak, and now you can actually inhibit the production of FSH. We don't want more of FSH, but now it is time for your LH. Okay, LH. LH is your luteinizing hormone. Luteinizing hormone. And remember one thing, luteinizing hormone, LH, okay, I remember it as leaving home. Okay, what is the home of these sort of egg cells? Okay, it is your ovary. If it is leaving home, that means that is your LH ka rule. Okay, I mean, of course, please do not write things like that in your paper. This is just for you to remember. Okay, this is just for you to remember. However, it is not that difficult a thing for you to, be confused. What is the role of which one? Follicle ko stimulate karne ka hormone is called your follicle stimulating hormone. Okay. So now that you've told your pituitary gland, hey, it is time for LH, meaning leaving home, right? So this causes the most mature egg cell from one of the ovaries to burst out of this follicle, okay, and that will result in, so the follicle will become something like this. Okay, so follicle is burst, okay, corpus luteum and all of that, okay, and then this egg cell has just come out. Now it is going to burst out of this follicle and through the ovary, out of this wall and into the fallopian tube. And you see these sort of bristles, okay? It has a particular name, and through this, you're leaving the ovaries and then you're entering into the fallopian tube. And the fact that you have these the most mature egg cell from the ovary, exiting the ovary, entering into this fallopian tube through this ovarian wall. This process is called or this particular time period or this particular phenomena is called ovulation. And this ovulation, okay, takes place again, woman to woman, right? So 10 to 16 days before the start of the period. Okay, it's a 28-day thing. So around 14 days, 14th day. So this tiny oocyte moves along this fallopian tube, just waiting to see if the oocyte can be fertilized by a sperm cell. So if or a pregnancy can occur if the egg is going to be fertilized by the sperm cell when it is in the fallopian tube. Okay, so you have a 24-hour window. Okay, 12 to 24-hour window. Okay, sometimes 48-hour window, but generally, okay, we are going to write it as 24-hour window. Okay, and if this particular egg cell that has entered into this fallopian tube does not find sperm entering through the vaginal cavity or the vaginal cavity and entering, okay, because sperm will enter through this, right? And once it enters here, it'll go here, it'll go here, right? And a whole bunch, it is not just one of them, okay, it's in millions, Okay, all of them, a lot of them will go in, and after so this is your sexual intercourse, right? So after the sexual intercourse, you will notice that a lot of these the sperm cells will also they'll come out, right? Not all of them will. So the vagina is not the most hospitable of places for the sperm, and that is why we say it's a survival of the fittest here as well. So around 270 million, depending upon the health of that individual, the age of the individual, like how much sperm is actually there in that semen, and semen as in okay, I'll go into all of those details a little later once we talk about the male adolescent portion. But let's just assume that there is one, and he has found this particular egg. If he has found it, and then they fuse, that means pregnancy when the female is ovulating. But however, if there has not been sperm entering this vaginal cavity, or it has entered and it has not been able to find its way all the way to the fallopian tube, it means what? The eggs sort of escapade ends, and the window for pregnancy for this particular 28 days has just closed. Right? Are you guys clear so far? I'm sure that most of you know about this menstrual cycle and pregnancy and ovulation, all of these things. Okay, if you don't, also it's fine. But at least there are bits and pieces that you already know. I hope that I'm adding a little more to your knowledge. And if there is any portion so far that you have not been able to follow, just let me know again. Okay, we will go through this. See, the idea should be that you do not have to study anything. Okay, it is all there in your mind. Okay, it is something that, see, cricket is a complicated game. Okay, there are too many rules. However, for the people who follow it, it feels like, it's very, very easy. In case somebody asks you about cricket who does not know anything about cricket, it is very easy for you to explain, right? But to the person hearing it, it might not be the simplest of things. It seems like there are way too many rules and all of that. So your idea should be that you become so comfortable with this thing that you do not have to study this before going to that exam hall, right? If you think that it's a menarche or a menstrual cycle or sex and fertilization or what else could it be? Any sort of thing, female reproductive system, any sort of question around these areas, it should be like, you can make up an answer then and there. Okay, you don't want to sit and study all of these things. So that should be the thing. If there are any questions so far, the egg has already reached the fallopian tube. One of two things can take place. Either it is going to be the fact, either it's going to be the sperm entering, okay, and sort of fertilizing the egg, or it is going to result in periods. Any questions so far? If I ask you what is FSH, what is LH? Okay. Okay. That's fine. Shall I move on to the next or? Now let us say that this has broken out, it has gone out, it is somewhere here, okay, and then you have sperm entering or may not be entering, right? And there has to be fertilization, okay? So now we know what is ovulation. Okay, we know what is your LH, we know what is your FSH, okay, we know we've seen estrogen. So many of these terms have been introduced so far. Now what we're going to introduce is another one. Okay, now the next thing is progesterone. Once this follicle that you've actually burst out of and entered this area, there is another, so progesterone. This one comes into play. This empty follicle that is left behind is going to induce the release of progesterone. And this progesterone is another hormone that tells the womb's lining, and these are endometrium layers, to sort of, pack it with blood and nutrients. So that once this finds its sperm, and they get fertilized. Okay, you have a very hospitable, okay, sort of an environment where the pregnancy or the little fertilized egg, okay, it can embed in these layers and sort of grow, okay, for the next 9 months or so. Now let us say that it does not embed, okay, there is no fertilized egg, whatever it is, okay, a few days later, right after the egg has exited this, okay, and has not been able to find its sperm, the counterpart, what happens is the body's progesterone levels, the estrogen levels, they will all come down, and that means that the womb's padding, okay, that has been going on till now is going to start degenerating, and eventually these layers are going to start degenerating, and eventually falling away. So during the period, okay, you will have blood, tissue, and other things, okay, for a period of leaving the body. Okay, and this is around approximately 4 days. Okay, 2 days, 7 days. It really depends on each woman. Each woman's body is sort of unique. The womb can even take up to a week in order to be able to sort of clear out the contents or the unused contents that the body was sort of the progesterone sort of was asking it to or inducing it to sort of pad up the endometrium layers and all of that, right? So now the ovaries again begin to start secreting estrogen again, the womb will start lining again, and hopefully this 28 months you will expect that you will be able to accommodate a fertilized egg, or again if not, you're going to sort of find a way to, or you're going to just shed it again as a period. Is that clear? So these hormones, they control the activities, okay, time and time again, clockwork precision, okay, they circulate in exact right amounts, okay, and they have to be sort of delivered exactly at the right moment, and this keeps the cycle running. Okay, it keeps on turning and transforming each day, each week, each 28 days into a milestone sort of a thing. Okay, a period slash pregnancy, period slash pregnancy, period slash pregnancy. Okay, but again, as I said, that it works, clockwork precision, there is room for variation because women and their bodies are unique, right? So in case anything that we have mentioned is not in line with somebody's body, that is totally fine. Okay, we are going to talk about the average woman, okay, the reference woman. Is this clear? The human body is so complex, right? Like we can make a whole lot of really really sort of powerful machines and electronic gadgets and whatnot, but if you look at the complexity that is involved in our own human bodies, uh, depending upon like what is your thought about who, like how exactly did this come about, right? Whether it is your Brahma or whether it was your Jesus or whether it was whatever it is, right? It still feels like it's a very complex system put together in a very very you know it seems like a very, I don't know when it will be that we can develop a system like this. Right from the 80s we have these movies about we can make we can clone ourselves, and we can make human robots and all of that, but this sort of a system, very very complex indeed. But in terms of what it does, what are the hormones in play, what are the different body parts in play, very very simple, right? If you start writing, just think about like what exactly is going to happen if you go from 0th day all the way till 20th day. Okay, that itself will do. Okay, you will be able to explain anything and everything. What I've given you will actually be a little more than what is required. Okay, and so just keep that in mind. Um, but it's a very simple topic. Okay, it's a very simple topic. What is more important for you to understand is that by understanding this thing, you actually will be able to sort of understand why this is sort of important milestone in every sort of girl's, every society, a woman in every society in her lives. Because at the end of the day, we all have a almost like a genetic propensity to want to sort of pass on our genes to the next generation, right? Almost everybody does, right? If you look from right from the animal kingdom, right? um, in the animal kingdom, do you guys know, so when, let's say, a new lion sort of joins another pride, okay, another group of lions, by killing, let's say, the males, the first thing they do is they try to kill all the cubs. Once they kill the cubs, the females will have to come in to heat. Now, those those lionesses will obviously not want it. They will try to keep the cubs a little far away. But the lions will sort of, first thing they want to do is try to kill off the previous sort of the pack leaders, his genes that have been passed on, and then he will protect the lionesses who are sort of siring his his kids, his cubs. Right, similarly amongst humans also, everybody has that innate sort of a need to pass on their genes, okay, and reproduce. All of these things are taking place, okay, because of this particular process. 1 to 4 days, 1 to 5 days, 1 to 7 days, right? Ovulation around the 14th, right? A few things that you would want to sort of highlight in your answer is ovulation. Okay, ovulation is sort of important because this is the time period when, uh, if I ask you what is ovulation, will you be able to write a line on it? I hope so. That's your ovulation, right? Um, why is it important? As in, what is the significance? Okay, not that it is the 14th day, it is this one, that one. Okay, it's about like why exactly is this important? Okay, what are the two different things? And generally, this is one system that I think would really help you when you're writing about changes, in growth and development or development of a woman. Okay, during adolescence. Okay, always try to go with either of the two possibilities. A is pregnancy, okay, or the second one, which is going to be your, what is the second one? Okay, good. I'm mentioning it like this because for different batches I teach in different ways. Okay, because it's a very, I mean, it is a complex thing that is happening. Okay, but however, the topic, the way we have covered it, is actually simple now, right? Everybody will sort of understand this. If that is the case, if any of you have attended this class before, try to stick with the method that I've already told you before. But each batch I sort of change it because I don't want to give like one size fits all or same answers for most of my students. Right? The idea is that we are trying to bring in some uniqueness, some creativity. See, menarche is something, or a menstrual cycle, a female reproductive system. If 10 people write this answer, you can have 11 answers. Honestly, you can. Okay, so there is no reason to go ahead and write the same thing for each, each person writing the same thing. Never a good idea. Okay, if you, the way you've understood it, okay, your mind has sort of your brain cells are sort of packed it in your brain in a different manner. Okay, it is not exactly in the same words that I have. Okay, it might be some temporal, okay, it might be chronological order, it might be more of spatial, whatever it is. Okay, you can just stick with the way as long as it is clear. Okay, but this is something that I would suggest, either in terms of pregnancy, either in terms of period. Okay, so you may be like, okay, you can go, your sequence will be 0th day to 20th day. Okay, that is one way. Okay, it could be FSH to LH to your estrogen to your progesterone. That is another one. Or it could even be that there are some parts here, and then you will be like, okay, if it is a pregnancy, so and so happen. Or if it is not a pregnancy, what would you call this? Periods. This is what happens. Okay. Anything does not matter. Okay, this is what is happening inside the body. You understand what is happening. There is no one way to sort of write this. Okay, so in females, the first menstrual period, the menarche, it signals the beginning of the capacity of that particular individual to be able to reproduce. It is associated with the development of secondary sexual characteristics. So it is an important sort of milestone in a woman's life, and this is true in every society. The biological importance is something that you know, reproduce. Okay, and sociological also sort of it is important for a reason. Well, I mean, why is it important? Why do I feel the need when I say I, society? Okay, why do we have this urge to sort of publicize the fact that some the girl has entered adolescence, okay, puberty? Why is that? Ready to start a family. Okay, okay. Fertility. Okay, fertility is a better way. Okay, so she's ready. Okay, she's ready. Okay, she's a woman. So, as you said, she's fertile now, and then she will be able to start a family. Okay, so now, with very soon, possibly, okay, she's going to be contributing, her own 50% to create a baby. Now, again, 50% I'm saying because of 23 and 23, but however, the woman does a lot more in terms of, caring or, carrying and caring for a baby. Okay, so I hope that is clear. So every society, like in Karnataka, you have something called Hosge ceremony. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Hosge. Okay, and similarly in Andhra Pradesh, you have something called Pushpa. What was it? Pushpa. What is it, guys? Pushpavati or something, right? And this is a ceremony, or what is this? Hosge is a ceremony. In fact, I remember one of my students, and she was from Karnataka. She told me about like how they have their Hosge ceremony in class, right? So they have, she has to sit on a particular. I mean, I'm just talking about like one particular aspect of it. Like she sits on this one chair, and then there will be like a rooster, a hen, a cock, whatever it is, okay, tied to her chair, and then she has to slit the throat of that, that rooster, the hen, the cock, whatever it is, right? And then I guess they have it. And then I was just, I mean, I asked her like, how difficult is it? Like, I cannot imagine having to slit the throat of an animal. Okay, I don't think I have it. Maybe I'm too much of a wimp for that. Then obviously it was difficult for her as well, but that's what they have. So I'm guessing in like different sort of societies, different sort of communities, they have different ways of celebrating the same thing. And the social angle is that to announce to the world that this person is ready. Fertility, family, two words that you guys have used, right? So that is that. The ceremony, okay. Some extra elements, okay, some extra elements, okay. Over the past century, the age at menarche has fallen in many societies, okay. The average age at menarche in 1840 was around 16.5 years, okay, now around 13. Now the age at menopause, however, has stayed relatively constant, so meaning the period under which the woman is sort of fertile, being fertile, okay, staying fertile, has just gone up. So the amount of time that she is exposed to, the estrogen hormones, right, that is longer now. Some more extra elements that you can use, however, in whichever way that you want. Okay, so reasons for the fallen menarcheal age. because there are different studies that say different things. One interpretation considers it to be a reflection of improvement in health and environmental conditions, whether it be in nutrition, whether it be in exposure, basically your environmental components, right? So a decline in menarcheal age appears to be leveling off in many countries. So it has come down to a certain level, and now it is sort of stabilizing. Now, which one is better? Early, late? Now there are different aspects that you can see here. So late menarche generally is associated with, according to studies, decreased risk in developing breast cancer, a decreased frequency of heart diseases. Okay, later first pregnancy, right? The later you go into, menarche, okay, the obviously your first pregnancy is going to be quite late. At the same time, on the other hand, you will see that late menarche is also sort of has a positive correlation with diseases like Alzheimer's. Okay, great. 8:30.
Excuse me, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Sir, even though the period from the menarche to menopause has increased, it's still preferred, like women conceive before 30. Shouldn't that also be increasing then?
No, what should be increasing? Sorry.
I mean, now women should be able to conceive even like up to 40, like that, right? Without any negative impacts on the child.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Then why isn't it like that?
No, sorry. You're saying that, see, the age at menarche, or the age at which menarche sets in, first menstrual cycle sets in, is coming down. Okay, in some societies that we just talked about, right? So let's say that 16.5 to that 13, something along those lines. Yeah, and menopause age, let's just keep for the ease, it is at 50. Now, what is your question?
No, the point is when that period has on an average increased, shouldn't women conceiving healthy babies also should be increasing? Like by 35, 36, like that? But
All the way till 50?
yeah, why not? Because the whole gap has increased.
Yeah. So a woman, until she goes, see, so there is perimenopause, there is menopause, there's postmenopause. So let us say that a few years before menopause, until then, she is like, good to go. She should be able to reproduce. But however, right, as we age, there are certain things in our body that don't work with the same vigor and vitality it used to be back in the day. Okay, the way in which our meiosis and mitosis and all of those things work when you're 18, 16, 17 to 23 is definitely different from when it is 33, 34, 35. Okay, so are you going to be, as in your 40s, right? In your 40s, are women going to be able to reproduce? They are going to be able to reproduce, okay, a few years before menopause. Of course they are going to. Are you linking this with those disorders?
Yes,
Is that what
sir.
you're asking?
Yes, yes.
So as you age, you're going to have a child, but the chances are, the amount of things that can go wrong, okay, it only increases with age. Okay, so you can reproduce, you can have a child, but it could be that there could be problems as well. There are many women who actually give birth in their 40s. I have a good friend. In fact, she's like getting married soon. She works in Gandhi or Osmania or something like that, and that is in Old Hyderabad. So even now, apparently there are like women who have like 13 children, 14 children. There are women who come and get admitted, and they have a baby, and then they go home by themselves, right? Not even like with the family. It's almost like you go to the hospital and come back out, things like that. And if it's 13 children, so you can imagine it'll probably be in your 40s. And not a small number. There are a lot, many. That's what I've heard. But of course, why do they have so many children? Okay, because the doctors generally say that your life is in danger. Okay, it could be problematic. Maybe they even tell you about the kind of disorders that we have studied. But in the social angle, a woman does not have complete autonomy to decide these sort of things. maybe it is the, the family, the in-laws, the husband. Okay, but can we guarantee that, the children in your 40s will be as healthy as they were possibly in your 20s? Probably not. The chances are slightly more. We saw that thing, right? So based on many studies, it shows something like this. Not Klinefelter and Turner. Okay, that is a marginal kind of a thing. But for the other ones, it'll be, I want to put problems and age of woman. That is just based on studies. I mean, a lot of women, especially working women, IT women, right? In India, if you notice, they're not settled until 27, 28. They're not getting married until 29, 30, and then they want to have a couple of years with their husband. So it moves on into your 30s. That is that. So the chances are, more. That's it. No guarantee.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Hope you guys are finding a biological anthropology playlist useful for your preparation. Hope this video helped reinforce your basics and also helped you connect a little better with the applications. If there's any other aspect of anthropology that you would like to know more about, do let us know in the comment section and we will try to make videos on those as well. Thank you for watching and we will see you in the next video.